Number one would definitely be the engine. This is a dual overhead cam, two-cylinder, four-stroke, liquid-cooled, 399 cc, so not quite 400, but close enough. 24.3 cubic inches. It has great power for its size, approximately 45 horsepower, maybe a little bit more. So it's a good top end of that A2 license in Europe or Great Britain. I think it has plenty of power and torque for the street, especially for someone's first or second motorcycle. It's a great. I don't find myself lacking in power. I can pass people. It's not scary powerful. It's just enough to keep you on your toes. You can grow into it a little bit. You can keep it for a while. But the engine is remarkable. And Kawasaki makes great engines. They've been known to make powerful engines and reliable engines. So I'd say that's the number one thing that pops out is the engine. It's electric start, fuel injected. I've had it for a year. It always starts. I've never had it not start. And it has oil, a reservoir. You could look like a sight glass. You can check your oil very easily, which is nice. Nice when you stand it upright, you can check your oil. Everything's very accessible. It's an excellent engine. Number two would have to be the handling and agility. This thing is extremely agile, great handling. It's very flickable, as they say in motorcycle parlance. It's so when you lean in, it dips left or right very quickly. So it's confidence inspiring when you go around corners. You can seem like you always lean more. Nothing's going to scrape. It's very light. It does actually remind me of a bicycle the way it handles. It's just so in between your legs, it's very light. In parking lots, I took a skills class on slow speed maneuvers, and it's just very easy to operate. You can, it's about 360 pounds, so if it starts leaning over, you can easily catch it with putting your foot down. I even just grabbed it by the handlebar once and held it up when it's about to go down. So it's a very manageable weight, so it helps it handle better. It feels very stable, up to about 75 miles an hour, 80. I haven't gone any above that, but it feels very well planted. It's got good tires, so it just feels like a little sport bike handling wise, and you're kind of upright, so you can really toss it around. Very maneuverable. I think that's something that stands out. It feels like you're sort of one with the bike, sort of an extension of you, and there's no real. You don't have to manhandle it. It just kind of does what you want it to do all the time. And for an entry-level bike, I think it's pretty amazing the way it handles. And that's why they have them on racetracks. There's the Ninja 400 anyway. It's a race. They race those all over the world. Number three would have to be the intake or induction sound from the airbox. The Z400 and probably the Ninja 400, they both make this really cool sort of honk sound when you twist the throttle, at least like halfway or so. So it's sort of a honk kind of sound. So for whatever it lacks in stock exhaust sounds, I think it makes up for in the induction sound, which just sounds really cool when you're riding around. You really feel the air getting sucked in there. It just makes a very unusual. I don't hear too many other bikes make that sound. I'm not sure why they do that, but I think it makes up for the exhaust. In the parallel twin, it doesn't sound the greatest in the world. I think it sounds pretty cool, but compared to other ones like V twins or 4 cylinders or 3 cylinders, or the Yamaha crossplane twin. So this sounds a little more, I guess they say industrial, or not real passion. Nothing really that impressive, but not bad at all. And with an aftermarket exhaust, you can really make them sound great. I heard one the other day. I saw a guy with a Ninja 400 with the aftermarket exhaust, the acrophonic, or can't pronounce it right now, but it's sort of like a Yoshimura type quality, and made the bike sound like it had like a 900cc engine in it. It was pretty impressive. So you can easily fix that for $200 to $500, maybe less than that, $100. I don't know. but you may lose the induction sound, or maybe you can't hear it over the pipes. That's one thing I would say I really enjoy about the bike is the intake sound, and I think it's underrated. You can check out if you ever heard Yami Noob. He has a couple of reviews of the Ninja 400, and he and Spite talk about the intake sound. They kind of like it, even though they kind of they criticize the engine sound, but the intake sound they both thought that was pretty damn cool, and I agree. Number four would have to be the LED lights, the headlight and rear brake light. The turn signals are incandescent, but the headlight, especially, is very nice, very bright. It has two like twin LED pods in the front, and riding at night, even out in the desert where there's no street lights, you can see fine. Maybe not at really high speeds, but they're almost like car lights. They're very well, very bright. Helps you be seen and to be able to see, especially on dark nights. I think for an entry level motorcycle, they're excellent. I have no problems riding at night, really. And the rear are LEDs, so they'll probably make you more visible to your brake lights and all that kind of stuff. And the turn signals are not LED, but I think you can probably switch those out really inexpensively. But that hasn't really been much of an issue, in my opinion. But yeah, the LED lights are definitely worth it. They come standard as well. Now the instrument cluster, a lot of people criticize, but I think it's very informative. Tells you all you need to know, how much gas you have left, your range, your gear indicator. You can customize the tachometer. It's a digital tach with numbers that are actually physically painted on there, but it's a digital tach behind it. And you can make it just a single needle, or sort of when it sort of fades, or a solid, where each each line will light up, so it's like a solid bar. Tells you what the tachometer is doing. But it has a lot of information that more expensive bikes don't, apparently, as far as even like gas gauge, gear indicator. And I don't have any trouble seeing it. It does well, and I live in Arizona. It's very bright sun. I've never had a problem reading it, especially the speed. And it tells you when you're in eco mode, so if you're getting better gas mileage, which you'll see like a little guy on a motorcycle pop up, like a little icon that tells you, usually if you're in that mid-range, like 4,000 to 6,000 range, you're getting good fuel economy. And you can get about 60 miles to the gallon. But yeah, I think the instrument cluster is excellent. I don't like the looks of it that much, but as far as what you get, it's not as good looking as a Ninja 400, but I think it tells you all the same information. It's just presented like in a big circle instead of spread out. So I think for a budget bike, it's not TFT, but I heard those are really expensive if they ever break. They're like $1,000. This thing, I imagine, is nowhere near that. And it tells you all you need to know. I don't know why you would need anything else for this type of bike. So, yeah, the lights and it lights up well at night. So I really like it. Yeah. So the fifth and final things I love about this bike is the looks and reliability. The looks, a lot of people think the Ninja 400 looks a lot better. I think the Ninja 400 does probably look better to most people, but the Z400 kind of grows on people. It's basically the same motorcycle with different handlebars and without the fairings, or most of the fairings, and the headlight's different. And I think the only difference is the shock might be a little bit softer, the rear shock. Or the suspension in general is just a little bit softer for street use versus track. But the looks are great. I have this weird blue color, sort of a teal. They call it midnight shade pearl blue or something like that. So it sort of reminds you of the 80s or 90s kind of blue. It looks especially good on the Ninja 400 because there's more of it. So all the fairings are sort of that cool blue color. It looks kind of tough for a little beginner bike. The back end sticks up, so it looks like a little bit more of a badass bike than it probably really is. But it's just, it's not for everybody, but I think it has pretty aggressive looks. There's some better looking motorcycles, but this thing is unique. I think it catches people's eyes. Yeah, I've no little complaints about the looks. I think it looks cool and different. It's a standard naked bike, so it looks like a baby Z400. So I think the looks are pretty good. Hopefully they'll hold up over time. And last but not least, the reliability has been amazing. This thing, it's in Arizona. It gets real hot here. It gets real cold at night. I've never had a time where it didn't start. It starts. You just press the button, electric start, starts right up. And I think once or twice it had to took a second or two to start up. But literally, that's about it. I've never had an issue with it. Nothing mechanical. I had a flat tire, but that's not the bike's fault. I had a screw go through the rear tire. But otherwise, everything works. All the lights work. It never. And the big four Japanese brands generally dominate the reliability surveys. Consumer Reports did a while ago. I think Honda #1, then Yamaha. I think Kawasaki was third, and then Suzuki. But they're all very much better than most other brands. I think it might have been Victory or something like that, or Indian was pretty good. But KTM, BMW, especially KTM, I don't think does very well in those surveys. And most of the Italian bikes, even though they're all great bikes, but I think they have more, maybe not any major problems, it's just more maintenance, more issues come up, and they're more expensive to fix. Kawasaki, they're Japanese design, built in Thailand, Z400 I mean. And Japanese bikes generally just known for affordability, but also they don't skimp out on quality. May not be the fanciest equipment, but it's reliable. So, parallel twin engine, they use this, they've been using those kind of engines for a long, long time. And they know how to make them. And Kawasaki's, the parent company also makes, jet engines and trains, so they're very high tech. So they're able to make these kind of motorcycles. So I think if you're looking for a bike that's just plain old reliable, and you're not going to break the bank fixing things all the time, I would just go any of the Japanese bikes. I don't think you can really go wrong there. Honda is probably the best as far as that category. Pure reliability and build quality. They have a reputation for being the best. I don't know if that's always true. They tend to be a little more expensive than the equivalent models from other brands. So maybe you pay a little extra for a little bit less problems, maybe. So maybe Honda's a little more conservative that way. But I would have no qualms about buying any of the big four Japanese bikes. Not that I wouldn't buy the other ones. I would just be a little bit worried about the repair cost and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that varies bike to bike, and there's always, you get a bad apple here and there in any brand probably. But anyway, that's my feeling. The looks, reliability, handling, engine, everything about this bike is cool. I've had it for a year. I don't think I need a new one. I think maybe a year from now I'll try to get a bigger bike, because I want to go on longer trips, so it'll be easier to store things, stuff like that. Maybe get something a little bit faster. I don't need that much more speed. This thing is 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, 4.3 seconds. Maybe a 650 is in the threes, so maybe something like that, or 900. So anyway, yeah, if you're on the fence about this, get it, or get the Ninja, or even get the Yamaha R3 MT-03. They're probably pretty close. Less power, but you get similar experience probably. Especially if you can save some money on one of those, or even the Honda 300s. And if you're willing to take a little more of a chance, KTM's, they sound amazing. They look cool. The 390s, I just don't know how reliable they are, but they look badass. They sound cool. They're probably a little bit more performance than the Z400, because they got a big single cylinder, a lot of torque. You probably wheelie easier and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. Thanks.